Sweden. I will try to moderate this meeting this evening. Please ask your questions and at the end of the Robert's presentation. Welcome to, I would like to say welcome to Robert. Welcome. Uh, and I would like to introduce Robert briefly first. He is an award-winning architect and one of White Architects' leading partners. He has steered several of companies' flagship projects from competition to completion with a special focus on designing public, civil, and cultural buildings that encourage a sense of belonging. He is a modern-day pioneer of timber design and construction and the lead architect of the international awarded Sara Cultural Centre, the world's largest carbon negative timber building. Robert is a director of competitions team while providing strategic input into the management of the Stockholm studio. Furthermore, he takes part in international juries and is a highly appreciated keynote speaker worldwide. Now he is with us this evening. The screen is yours, Robert. You can share
Thank
your
you.
screen. Okay.
Thank you so much for that impressive introduction. I'll see if I can if I can live up to it. So I'm going to talk to you. How do you see the screen?
That's
Very
perfect.
well.
Good.
Yes,
Very well.
yes.
Am I sharing? Yes. Okay, so I will talk about one project today, Sara Culture Center, which is, of course, the topic of today, timber, one of the world's tallest timber building. But this is more than just a timber building. It's a key for the municipality of Skellefteå to turn a downwarding trend of depopulation and together with culture. Reverse this and become a more attractive region and grow from 70,000 up to 100,000 people over the next 10 years. And so you could say this project has been a catalyst for the people of Skellefteå and also for them to gain the new perspective of their community, basically. And for us, this has also been a journey of understanding sustainable construction in a new way and also the participation from all the stakeholders in this process. I'll start with the hard facts. 40% of the CO2 emissions origins from the building and real estate sector. And we have to take this under consideration as architects and as planners or as builders, that we have a strong impact of how we want to see the world evolve and if we want to have a planet at all in the end. So we have to think of new ways to construct our living environment and reduce our climate impact in the best manner of ways. But in saying this is also a very interesting time to become an architect these days, because we have that if we want, we have that power in our own hands. So that's one of the reasons why we at White Architect advocating timber as one of the solutions for this. 30% of all waste comes from the building sector, and it is identified as waste and not as building material, and it produces almost 9 billion tons a year. So we also have to see our existing built environment in a new way. How can we reuse buildings and how can we complement already existing buildings, not tearing it down in order to create new ones? And timber is also a very good material to complement building structures and to create new ones, but also to see can we use building parts, not seeing them as waste, and how can we categorize these? At White, yes, as the introduction said, I'm a partner at White. I've been here for 17 years. We work with sustainable architecture, which is one of our goals. So we think that we have to work interdisciplinary in an interdisciplinary manner in order to achieve this throughout the entire design process. So we have architecture, landscape, urban design, interior design, project management, sustainability experts, lighting design, transformation, and digitalization, and in order to create a holistic approach for sustainability. Our goal is also to work with the process and the collaboration. Because nobody is the expert, and we think that everyone can participate to create a better and richer architecture in the end. We're here for the long term, not just a quick fix. We are employee owned, so you can only buy in shares in the company if you're a part of the company. And that means we are a quite resilient company. We don't have to, we can do whatever we want with our profit. And a huge part of our profit goes back into our White Research Lab. It's an important part of our operation, and it's also a low threshold for all the employees who wish to delve or deeper in research and innovation. And I think we start with practice-based research throughout almost all of our project that starts with an idea of how can we push the material further or a thought further to make an even more sustainable solution, either if it's economical, social, or sustainable. And we are a big collective gathered around a vision, and that is for all our projects to be climate neutral by 2030 through design excellence. And we are following the Paris Agreement, and also and I'm quite glad that COP27 now have recognition that the built environment or the construction industry is a part of the carbon problem in the world. So that's also, it makes us easier to advocate different solutions, not just concrete and steel. And this is a little bit about the history of how we got involved in this project, the Sara Culture Center, which is the new landmark for Skellefteå. And having this research and this methodology that we used to, this is part of how we could convince our client to build this building in timber and not in the conventional method. This is a culture center with 6 stages for performing arts. It has a city library, an art gallery, and a museum, and they were located in different parts of Skellefteå before this competition. So they wanted a new home for this, together with a hotel and a conference center. So and since it's been open last year, it has won a lot of international competition. It's been really recognized all over the world, and people are wondering what happened. How could Sweden build this? How could this massive timber? And when we don't even have the regulations to build in more than 2 stories, for example. So it has been a beacon for sustainability and also for the implementation of timber in more conventional projects as well. Even though this is a standalone project, you can also use the methods in housing or offices as well. So I think that's also what's interesting working with pilot projects, that they bane the way for other projects, which and allows for them also to grow, I guess you can call it. It's this for us. This started as a competition. It was at least in Sweden. We have a lot of open competitions for this type of public buildings. The culture center was 17,000 and the hotel was 11,000 square meters. It didn't say in the brief that it was supposed to be in timber. It was focusing on the layout and programmatic scheme. But we thought that Skellefteå, the city of Skellefteå, that is so brave that they can invest so much money in back into the community to allow growth. We also want them to say that they also want to lead the way in sustainability. And surrounded by timber forests and certified forestry, we saw this chance to actually propose timber throughout the entire project, which we succeeded with in the end. And if you don't know where Skellefteå is, it's about 800 kilometers north from Stockholm. So it's located just underneath the Arctic Circle, which has a kind of harsh climate in the winters, but also with long dark winters and very bright summers. The city, as many other parts of Sweden and Europe, as we spoke here before the presentation, the timber tradition is very strong. These vernacular building is just outside of the city center. That is part of Skellefteå's soul, I would say. During the 1950s and forward, most of these buildings has been replaced by concrete, larger ones in the city center. So they have kind of lost their identity as a timber city, which was something that we also took advantage on and said that we wanted to bring back that tradition into Skellefteå again. So that people could have a common sense of the material and the materiality of it. It was not just for sustainable reasons we choose timber as a material. It was also to find something else and find a unique sensibility in the project. The site was the last unbuilt plot in Skellefteå. It's where this culture center says. It was used as a bus station before, and it was right in between the train station and the main square. And as you can see, there is a sequence where you have all these public or civic buildings leading down to the Skellefteå River, which is by placing a public building here, it also mended the city fabric. And we were so for us, this was also a question of how do we challenge this institution and to something more than just a building or in the destination. It also has to make on a larger scale the city grow, and it also has to interact with surrounding streetscapes in different ways. So thinking about the culture center as a more than just a place where you go and see shows. It's also about a place where people could meet, especially in this harsh climate, indoor and co-create and participate in different culture events. So for us, we started with a thought that this no matter what institutions was going to be in here, if it was the hotel or the large stages, we put them in the middle, and around it we allowed for people to actually flow around. So we created all the interface towards the street with an accessibility. So we had entrances in all direction facing the streets. So we didn't create any backsides. And we also had a very strongly belief in two entrances, one towards the main square and one against the train station. So you had a flow through the building so that people could also had a chance, or also had an opportunity to walk through the building, not just a place where you went to and then back again. So there was a natural flow around this building, and with low thresholds around all what was happening inside. We will also tailor the building towards its contents, creating different scales, because this building is a kind of quite large program, and it was filling up the entire site. But we still needed to be connected to the city, even though we introduced a new scale as the high rise as was meaning to. So we try to adjusting the scale and height to its content and connecting the surrounding streetscape towards it, and building up towards the center, and working with the high rise and facing it so that they had the short side towards the main square, so it didn't take too much place in the public realm. And creating a big building like this also creates for new public spaces and new ways of for people to experience their own city. So we wanted to give back to the public something, not just privatizing the space above. So we wanted to do public spaces in the top of the high rise, for example. So our proposal called Side by Side, and this is an image from the competition proposal, where you can see the stages going as a ridge towards the high rise, and you can facing the main square. So we had create a new landmark for Skellefteå, but also this is as a start of a new and bigger revitalization of the city. This will be much more high rises coming up within the next few years. But making it in timber, we also created a softness, and we worked towards the city, and with something that people could connect to, and I think that was a success to get the citizens of Skellefteå to participate in this building and cheering for it. We also worked a lot with the slender factor of the building, so that it didn't feel like it was too massive. So we had a base with a timber facade, and then the topping up with it's a glass structure that is wrapped around this timber structure within, so it reflects the sky and loosen up what is the high rise and the sky, as you can see on the picture. It was also important for us to work with the horizontal lines and shadow effects that the facade goes, so it wouldn't be a flat facade. It also had a life and a 3D effect of it. But and wherever you were around this building, you can also experience that patterns that this effect gives. The main entrance towards the main square is also a play that you are accessing the building right underneath the high rise. So you going in low, and then once inside, you have the library and the hotel on each side, but in the center you have this culture staircase, as we call it, the social staircase that connects all the different operations within the building. Here we wanted to have giant flexible rooms, so we had to, in order to achieve that, we had to work with trusses that we have created exclusively for this project, and creating an atmosphere for it. As you can see here, the library runs all the way through alongside of the plot, we have the hotel lobby, the culture staircase, and underneath this culture staircases is the one of the smaller stages used for lunch performances. And then we also, since this is a split level, most of the technique storage and services is also placed here. This is the basement from the scenes. And this is what you meet when you enter inside the main entrance, and underneath the high rises, you can see the columns supporting the high rise is 600 times 800 millimeter in dimension, and it is almost like entering a forest with a canopy of the timber trusses in the ceiling. And also very important for us to bring as much daylight into this building as possible, since it's a very deep building, and we want to create a space where you can use daylight as the lighting, and so that you can feel that this is somewhere, a place where I can really participate in. And engagement was one of the key factors as when we were discussing what was this building for in the first place. And you can see the pillars on the cushions on the staircase. They are made by the locals as a contribution to this space as well. So there has been a lot of citizen engagement in this project, and and even before the competition, there was a lot of citizen dialogues asking what do you want in this city to make you stay, or to make you grow as a person. And the result was we want to make a culture center where people can meet and co-create. And this space is very often used as what you can see on the image as lunch or concerts. This is some youths, kids, basically having a show. And this is the core of or the essence of a culture center, basically, where it's driven by the people actually living there. And you can also look down further to see the library, and then above it's the main foyer. So that it's a really interactive space, and a transformable space, in that sense that you can basically do whatever you want with it, but with a backdrop of only timber and this characteristics material that we have been using throughout the entire project. So the invisible timber was also something that was very important. We were working with these elements that we just assembled together to create pattern and create a visual effectiveness for us. It was with simple measurements. We wanted to create a lot of complexity within the rooms, and you can see the materiality and with the visible timber, as it's not perfect, but it's organic material that brings life into the rooms, or into the spaces, all the way down to detailing. We wanted to use these CLT slabs and utilize them in different ways. Going up from the stair, and one of the stairs was that was the one we saw in the previous slides, if you can see my arrow. So this is basically where we have most of the stages. We also have back of house for all kinds of theater productions, joinery, forgery, all kinds of mask. We have sewing places. We have green room for the artists, changing rooms, locker rooms. We have different kitchens, but also offices for some floors up for the personnel in this building. It's about 100 people here working here every day, besides the people on stage. And all of these are surrounded of these foyers that seamlessly goes in different rooms or different sequences, from large scale to smaller to large scales again, so that you could use these all these operations within. You can be working either side by side independently or working together, more importantly, in a collaboration. So the exhibition space, for example, can be they can use some of the foyer for their exhibitions as well. So in that sense, it's a very transformative building that it can be used by anyone. For example, in this large foyer, here we have the dance group that has a practice here, since they have a natural daylight, and the floor is really fits for the purpose. But it also, there is a lot of yoga classes going on here on lunches. So people have really taken this building to their hearts and trying to learn how they can best use it in their own way. And since the building belongs to them, it's a very nice interaction between all of from the citizens, but also the culture center. The Grand Auditorium, which is stage 1, is the largest of the stages, but also the one that we have worked the most with detailing. And here we also wanted to push the timber. So everything here, basically what you see is made from timber, supporting walls, ceiling, trusses in the ceiling, balconies, even the chairs are from timber. And we also wanted to create this monochrome sense, but with an intimate scale in this large room. So for us, it was a duality between the spectators looking into the stage and see the artists, but also for the artists to look up to the auditorium and see what was going on there. So it's both for the people that actually going there to see the play, or for the people working at stage. So I think it's a building that both so that sees the both kind of thinking, I would say. And here we've been working with the solid timber blocks as acoustic panels, also by just with a small twist or a small anglination in different directions. We have created this space, but also giving that an expression of the walls. Then we have a number of black boxes. They're harder to show, so it's better to show them when there is a performance going on. That we have 1, 2, 3, 3 of them in the building, and even in the gallery spaces which have the highest requirements for humidity and also safety. We wanted to at least it would really reveal some of the timber in the building. So you can see in the upper corner here, we have exposed glulam pillars in the ceiling, so that you can at least feel that okay, this is a timber building that you are inside. So this building is really a platform for creation, and people have really been exploiting that into the max. So I'll show you a small video for what the people have done, working with seeing this as the entire building as their stage. Yes. The hotel. This is a quite big model we made for an exhibition in London earlier this year. It was their summer exhibition at the Royal Institution. It contains of 205 rooms, 3 restaurants, a conference center, gym, and rooftop spa. And as you can see here, it's connected to the main auditorium on one side, and then you have the main entrance just underneath the high rise. The layout for the hotel is quite a rational building with a number of 18 prefabricated hotel pods stacked between 2 stabilizing cores in CLT on each end. And the direction is so that all the rooms could have a view towards the rivers. Also here, we didn't want to have a backside or a city side, we wanted everyone to experience the same, where it didn't matter which room you took in this building. And since the hotel starts at level 6, you have a quite nice panoramic view overlooking Skellefteå already from the lowest of the hotel floors. And it's connected with the middle corridor, basically. And we worked with a measurement of 3.6 meter grid, but that was kind of suitable for the hotel room. And then we just lay that over the entire city plot. So all the pillars in this building has 3.6 meters spacing in between them. But it also gave us a rhythm in the building that connected all the different functions around it. So it was quite successful. This also allowed us to have visible CLT timber for the walls and the ceilings, and also the amazing view from the hotel rooms in a one-sized glazing wall. Say this was a foggy day, so we didn't see much, but I think you can imagine. Active floor, top floor. On top of everything, we have a restaurant, and above from that, we have a spa, rooftop spa, with a pool on top, and so that you really can experience all the timber around. Because up here you don't almost see the city. You only see the surrounding forests laying in this pool, which was a really popular destination also. So all this different program in this very complex building has created a lot of solutions, almost like a library of solutions for timber structures. Not everything is in timber. We have a concrete foundation and a basement, but above from that, all vertical loads is from either glulam or CLT. And on top, as number 1 there, we needed to add some extra weight. Hence the material is so light to prevent it to sway too quickly, and so that you don't get seasickness. Basically, it doesn't have anything to do with the structures, more of the movement of the building. Yeah, and then we have all the different CLT slabs in the walls are supporting the high rise. It brings down all the vertical loads throughout the entire city block, basically, of the building. We have 9,500 cubic meters of CLT, and as you can see, shear walls, the volumetrics, the cores, and the floor slabs. And then we have glulam, which has in beams, columns, and trusses, and also some steel. We have steel piles down to bedrock. We're also working with steel in these visible trusses, the hybrid trusses, where we have an expression that we call timber take the pressure the most and steel take the tension. So that was how we came up with the idea of creating those trusses. But also we also needed steel for connectors or brackets to put assemble all the elements in this constructing this building, of course. And I think it's only in the two CLT cores in the high rise, it's about 500,000 of screws. So steel is our friend in this project as well. But we have something that was really our friend was working with BIM, in our case Revit, as a tool for collaboration. We did it to coordinate. We were having sustainability reports, working with dialogue with the end users so that they could experience what they were building, for example, which has been a really useful tool. We did quantity takeoff so that we can calculate and do estimations of the building, working with visualizations, of course, and creating a database for everything that was going to go in this building, also for to be implemented while using the building once it's done, for example, but also for reviewing collisions. So we have reduced we have really induced all the errors on site. Instead, we did it in our 3D model. So that is something that we have really been working a lot with, and it's been really benefiting this building, since everything in this building is made from pre-manufactured elements in factories. The construction, working with timber and timber in this way, we could shorten our construction time with about 80%. 1 year. So it's a 30%. We could shorten it, and it was a silent construction site, so we didn't have any complaints over the entire time that the building was here, and also a clean building site. And we didn't have to use that many, not that many laborers on site. Instead, the laborers were in the factories working under safe working conditions, following different protocols so that nobody could hurt. We had all the timber comes from locally sourced from a radius about 60 kilometers around the sawmill. And the CLT factory itself was based only 50 kilometers outside of Skellefteå. Here we could work with larger elements so that we needed fewer connectors, that meant fewer lifts with crane, for example. So that's also speeding up the process. And the largest element was 27 times 3 meters that you could produce in this factory, which was quite big. So 73 weeks of montage. And we had 80% reduced transportation, hence the lightness of timber and how we could produce these elements. Timber being 5 times lighter than concrete, for example. So there was only a lot of beneficence with working with timber, but we also had to have a lot of brushes to brush off all the snow, since we didn't have any weather protection on site. So that was maybe the one thing that could have been negative for this building. The hotel rooms, as you can see, there are CLT slabs assembled and joined with steel brackets, and on each corner they have glulam pillars that connects the one next over on top of that. And there's also have steel knives which connects them in the pillars. So you have stiff connections in this building. And here you can see the drawings for it. And also you have it comes delivered with all the interior fittings, and also the the bathroom, which was pre-manufactured in another factory outside of Skellefteå and placed in this in this hub. And it was also delivered with this lip so that it could support the outer skin of the double skin facade that we used, both for buffering heat and cooling, but also to integrate or the solar shading inside this space. And the only thing that was mantled on site was the outer layer of the double skin, which is a single glazed screen basically. And here you can see the pods were lifted on site. And here we did use weather protection for these, because the insulation was already assembled on outside of the pods. So basically, we saved a lot of height in the building, because we didn't need to have any floors. We had the ceiling for the pod, and then you had space for insulation, and then you had the floor. So total measurement was 32 centimeters only, and that's really slim if you take timber under consideration. Fire safety, which is of course one of the biggest issues and one of the biggest hurdles coming to timber buildings in most of countries in the world, also in Sweden. We had to rate this building BRO, which is the highest classification of the use of the building as a public building with a lot of people in it. The hotel tower was rated R90, meaning that you had 90 minutes to get out from the building securely until it could collapse, basically. And then in the Culture Center parts, we had R60, and we also worked a lot with dimension of the path out and the rescue paths. The building is fully sprinkled, which is quite common. It's very common in Sweden for all public buildings to be. So that didn't had any impact of the price of the building, for example. We would have sprinkled it even if it was in concrete. But we also had to make an extra securement to oversize the timber with 2 centimeters in order to calculate in the charring effect of the building. But the timber is a quite it's a very material that is very predictable, so that you can calculate how fast the timber will burn, for example. So in this case, as also when it's exposed like this, the firemen, when they enter the building, they can see if it's near collapse or not, for example. We also worked with the energy performance, the operative energy performance. We have high performance envelopes, so we have no thermal bridges. We worked with fixed and mobile sun protections, hybrid ventilations, and the building is certificated gold for Swedish Green Building, which is the highest certification level at Sweden Green Council. We're working here also with a smart energy system, and with doing this, we had reduced the calculated energy by 45% almost. It's 50.6 square meters a year, or kilowatt hours square meters per year. We are connecting the entire through heat pumps or computers working with AI. We're connected this building towards the entire city grid, so that learns the building's behaviors and optimizing the energy use for this building and for other buildings, so that we can save energy peaks. Because that's the only time in the city where you need to have non-renewable energy in the system. So and this was a revolutionary technique that has been developed by ABB and the local power company. So that innovation and mindset working with timber led to this idea that we can't have and traditional and old energy system in an innovative building like this. So we need to think again. We we also need to step up and see what can we contribute with the local energy companies said. So I mean, one innovation leads to another in this case. And once you put your head around and have a new mindset, you will also see that there is solutions for all the problems, even though we had a lot of course we had a lot of hurdles to pass before we could realize this building. And the environmental impact was of course the strongest argument for us working with timber, but back then we didn't have really carbon neutrality as one of our goals or at least to calculate for it. But we did this in afterhand when the building was already been built, so that we all had the data. And basically it says that this is Swedish, but it says that all the emissions from the building materials, from the working sites, and from the operational energy would be balanced by if we have renewable energy sequestrations, or we have renewable energy outside of the property. And if we can balance this up to the CO2 emissions that we have put into the building, then our building is carbon neutral. And we did a carbon assessment here, and you can see that we have, since the materials is very low, and also we have hardly any transportation, and also we could save a lot in construction process, and we have a really low operational energy since the efficiency of the building. We are almost at a carbon neutral building. But if you take the carbon sequestrations, meaning that all the timber that we've been used in this building, it has been replanted by at least 2 new plants. So that means that the building works as a carbon sink. And if you could take that in consideration, we together with the solar cells on the roof, we have now a carbon negative building, which works as the carbon sink I was telling you about, which is something that was it was a good way to find out in this research paper that we did. And here, if you compare the materials and non-structural elements in the building, you could see that the concrete stands for 42% of all the emissions, which is only the foundation. Whereas the timber, which is the entire structure, only have 16%. So that you can measure the big spectra from concrete that is really dense, has a dense impact towards that wood had hardly any. So that we can really show here which of the material that we have to get rid of in order to create a more sustainable building. And the result is a new landmark for Skellefteå, but not only for Skellefteå, it's for a sustainable landmark for the entire world. And Times Magazine named this place the world's greatest place this year. So their brave initiative and investments has really paid off. And since the opening of this building, there has been attracted new companies into the city, and there is with working with green energy. Europe's largest battery factory, for example, has moved in here, following 3,000 new jobs into the region. So it's a success story that you can actually use sustainable design as a driver and encourage and empower an entire community. And that's with me. I would say thank you.
Thank you very much for the fascinating presentation. It's really good presentation, and for the last 10 years, I visit many contemporary timber works around the world. I visit Canada, I visit Arbora Project, Origin 13, I visit Treat in Norway, I visit other long span timber structures in the United States and many projects. But I can clearly say it is the best one because we see this. You use CLT, you use glulam, you use the timber solid materials together with in a big meeting point project. It's you have a theater, you have a meeting halls, concert halls, meeting points areas. You have you used glulam, gym, anything the others together. And at the end of this, it's a very successful project for NIV jobs. It's very unique example I ever heard before for the timber structures examples around. So thank you very much for this fascinating and informative presentation again. We have a little, and I'm sorry, maybe we have some questions from our students or academicians because we have discussed about timber for a long time with the Archidesign Timber Talks series. Maybe, is there any question here? Maybe some of our friends want to add something or want to ask something. Just we are waiting for questions. Nilay Hocam? Yes, Nilay Hocam, please.
Okay, thank you very much for this very inspirational presentation. Sometimes students also need some time to warm up and think about their questions. Meanwhile, maybe I can ask a few. My first question is kind of general. You mentioned that we all know that by 2030, some, especially European countries or all countries that are signatures of the Paris contract, they are aiming carbon neutral or climate neutral buildings. For the new buildings, I guess. But what about the old buildings? Is there an effort to somehow adapt them or to, you know, transform them into carbon neutral buildings?
I think I heard it takes about 65 years for a new building to become, if it has the best operation energy envelope and everything like that, to become sustainable. Because the embodied carbon in the construction is 50% of the entire cradle to cradle carbon use in the building. So I think the focus now has been really looking at how can we utilize the environment that we have around us and repurpose buildings, for example. Instead of tearing them down and create new glass boxes, we have to think, can we have another use of these buildings that we already have today, for example? And if not, how can we work? For example, timber is a very good material to build it on top of buildings and expand them without having to have new foundations, for example. So yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that point was very important because we generally focus on the energy issue while talking about, you know, carbon neutral or climate neutral. But I think this construction process is the most important of all. For instance, you mentioned that the transportation, when compared to, you know, concrete construction, was really very low. And maybe we need to also think about that as, you know, much as the energy issue, energy efficiency. And regarding my, you know, maybe it's a question, maybe a kind of an observation. Of course, it's a very cold climate. And, you know, you mentioned that it's soft, but also a very warm building, also in terms of the whole atmosphere that you have created inside. It's really very welcoming. I think, and also it's a mixed-use building, so there are lots of functions here. I mean, the theaters and also the hotel building sometimes when there is an hotel building, it's kind of a separated. This is, of course, about the post-occupancy, but I wondered, I mean, who is running this complex? Because you mentioned that it was also a participatory process, and
Yes.
you know, the people living in the neighborhood, they also contributed to the process. And as we have seen, it's really very nice and kind of a part of their daily lives, I guess.
So,
I would be very glad if you can elaborate on that.
So the building is, the developer is the municipality, the local authority, but but it's been sold to a private property owner.
Mm-hmm.
So and the private property owner has one tenant, and that's the municipality on a long-term lease.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
the municipality, they sublet the buildings to two tenants. One is the hotel operator, and the other one is that they allow for these culture institutions to be in the building. So there is a company called, in English, culture company, I don't know, which is working with all the content and booking, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And then the hotel they contribute with all the catering, and also the hotel, and they have their own, which I didn't show, a conference center as well. But so yeah, but it needs to be, or they have to have a dialogue in between, so that they can do what so that they can best optimize their the agenda, I guess. But since it is a public program, they also need to not just having the biggest artists and most conventional, the thing that makes the most money. They also have a task to do art that questions and is more narrow. So there is a really like a diversity towards the cultural content. And I think the way that I mean, we designed the building, but also their ambition of this building is that nobody nobody has a certain, it's not a number of activities going on, and they have their own space, so the motto in this project was that you come in here and you have a little less space than that you asked for, but in return you can use more space, which is of common.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope you understood.
Yeah, of course, it was very clear.
Okay, thank you, Nilay Hocam. Is there any question? We are waiting. Maybe Elif Hocam has a question. I don't know.
Yes, I have. But I was just waiting if the students want to ask questions. This is maybe it will be a little bit specific, but you have several details in this construction with a very good architectural touch, but also engineering touch. For example, to name an example, these trusses at the entrance floor, with this top court and bottom court. Top court was timber, and then the vertical web members timber again, and so. How was the development of such a truss? I just wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
So that means you
that's a very
started,
good
or
question.
the engineers started?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think this is something that I think it's general for everyone. It's when you have to have a good friend in an engineer, and the engineers has to have a good friend in the architect, and together we can create solutions that's being better than we both expected them to be. So we actually worked with the structural engineers from the very beginning of the competition. So for 6 weeks, we had a very intense dialogue together with the structure to create all the different concepts, including the trusses, the steel and timber trusses that we're using. But then, I mean, since this building is, they had so much many things, so we didn't really work a lot with that until we got a contractor, and I think their engineers working with the trusses, they were really proud, and they also wanted. I mean, the atmosphere was that we are actually achieving something here, so that they put in the hours to do the exact calculations, because the anglination of all the diagonals are different in different rooms. So that there was a big challenge for them, and I asked them about it, and they're from a northern parts of Sweden, so they don't express themselves too much. So but they said it was hard, but they made it.
Thank you very much. Sometimes it's hard to make the students believe, okay, the architect can design details. He has to work with the structural engineer, clear, but we have to be also involved in such solutions. I just named this part.
I
There
think
are
it's super
several.
important that we are involved, and I think that of course maybe we have the initial sketch, and sometimes we don't know how to solve it, and then together with the structural engineers. But I think that in a collaboration, it could be more than that. We do a sketch and they do the solution. I think it's more that we have to participate more in design sketch, basically, to achieve a better result.
Okay, thank you very much. Are some questions from students? I'm just asking. At the beginning, okay, maybe just your subjective opinion about tall buildings. At the beginning, we touched this topic. We already talked about this, but maybe for the students also, what do you think for the future of timber? Do we need tall structures made in timber, with timber?
I mean, we need. I mean, 20 stories is not that tall.
No, not your project in general. No, not
so
your project.
I mean,
Beyond
there was this drive for self-expression, and why not use a sustainable material to do that? So I wouldn't say I'm against tall buildings. I think we can have solutions that allows for it. But as higher you go, that's more inefficient the timber would become. So then I think you have to use other materials as well. So then it will become a hybrid instead. But I think timber is a really good way to densify cities. And as I said before, creating a coasting not just in one single building, but using it as a bigger transformation. And that could be lower scale or tall building as well. We just have to make sure that we have enough sustainable forestry, so that we maintain the forest in a sustainable way, and that we allow for a large number of a variety of species, for example. So there is a lot of things that we have to. I mean, the more we know about our collective environment, the more we also have to take in consideration. I think it was easier when you just didn't care about the nature.
Absolutely. We have another question, I think. Elif Hocam. Yeah,
yes, Ahmet Hocam.
Ahmet Hocam, yes. Ahmet Hocam, can you hear us?
Yes, sorry. Well, this is quite fascinating. Thank you very much. And mind-boggling at some points. But my question is about the fire performance of the building vis-a-vis the glass outer skin. How much did that contribute to it, as well as how was it possible for a single layer glass to perform in keeping the skin of the building intact, or postponing the effect of fire and smoke, etc.
Yeah.
What's the special treatment? Is it lamination, or is it toughened glass, or what was behind that? Because a single layer seems quite
yeah, it's two-layer glazed, two layers which
laminated.
has been what do you call it? Glued together, perhaps.
Yes, laminated, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's,
I
but I mean,
that.
within that void, it's a combustible material. So we have each floor is a single fire cell.
Yes.
And so that we have really created so we don't get any chimney effect in the building, and that also enhanced the performances. And then we don't have any insulation in the cores, for example. So the timber that you see is the structural timber. It's 400 millimeters of CLT, which creates on one side a fire cell, on the other side, which is protecting the inside from another fire cell. And since we don't have any insulation, so we don't have any shafts vertically. So the massive timber is protecting the structure within itself, with this charring effect that I was told you about.
Right. And the glue in general for the CLT performs so well then that it keeps it as one big thick
exactly.
wooden thickness that doesn't allow, well, it chars to a certain extent and then it stops.
Exactly. So you have to have we have 3 layers. So we have 3 layers of CLT, which consists of 5 and 5 and 5. So totally we have or is it 7? I don't know, but we have about over 20 different directions.
Right. So I mean, the crucial thing is about the glue itself. I've always had suspicion about the glue, but here apparently this is the proof that it really holds well against against fire.
And the glass protects it from humidity and rain but others from that is so we saved a lot of money just having the glass.
And you didn't have any right, and you didn't have any problem with the with toxic gases from the glue at all in that case?
I mean, no, because it's there is the glue in these days are they don't have any toxic gases in them.
Yeah, maybe natural resin, more natural. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, very nice. It's really very impressive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmet Hocam.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions, Sara Hocam?
May I have a small question? First, thanks a lot for this very inspiring presentation. It was very enjoyable to listen and at the presentation. I have just a small question. I had some connection difficulties actually. I may have missed it. I'm curious about how you dealt with the acoustic issues in the auditorium. This timber material. I'm sure that you have some, let's say, special treatment, the acoustic issues with.
Yeah, I mean, not anything more special than it would have been if we made it in concrete, for example. It's a box in a box. So we have on one side we have CLT and which CLT walls. That's 27 meters tall in one slab, which you saw in the presentation, which is held by glulam pillars. And then there is a void, and then comes the next one. So that means that the walls are over 1 meter thick, but they have a cavity in the middle. And then we have and then outside from that, we're working with the acoustic panels into the auditorium. So we're achieving 70 decibel.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, I think finished for time, and also there's no question. Thank you very much for your all time and efforts.
Thank you, and I'm happy so many showed up.
And we have a little tradition here in Archidesign Timber Talks as a Bahçeşehir University Faculty of Architecture and Design. We donate in our guest name. A donation has been in your name to SAFE Foundation, helping underprivileged children for quality in education. So we will send your paper as an email. Okay.
Yeah, but super nice. Yeah.
Little donation for our Timber Talks.
I'm happy. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time again. We have 1 hour for very short, very long presentation with you. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and have a nice evening. Bye.
Have a nice evening. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.